All right, guys, I got a great video for you today. We're going to go over calendar date tables in SQL. Okay, so I was on Reddit. I saw Reddit have a question about how do you handle fact tables with multiple date tables, and look no further than building a date dimension table in SQL. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys what the date dimension table looks like in SQL. Then we're going to go head over to Excalidraw, and I'm going to show you how to join that date table to a fact table. And then after that, we're going to head over to Metabase, and I'm going to show you a use case of how you actually join the date table to the fact table, how you would actually use it in a BI tool.
Today we're going to go over on data modeling techniques specifically around date tables. So let's go ahead and get into it. So as you can see on my computer right now, I have a question that was posed by a Redditor on the Tableau Reddit page. The title is Issue with Adding Calendar Table. Hi all, I'm having one issue and appreciate your help suggestions. I'm creating an HR dashboard and have hire date and determination date and no general date column. I was thinking of adding a calendar table and connecting it, but do not know what to connect to and which relationship to use. I would like to be able to make comparisons year over year and month over month. This is a great question and it's a very common issue. So what they're summarizing is they have a fact table, which is like HR events. So HR, you're gonna hire people, you're gonna terminate people, you're gonna do year-end reviews, just all these different actions that happen in HR. And you have different dates for them. So you have a date and then the event. Well, the issue that the person is running into is you may have a termination date that's as of today on that table, but then you may not have a date for a hire. So then if you were trying to use like just the dates for determinations, you would end up missing data for hires in your BI tool, right? Because you don't have a general date column. These dates are specific to those actions, so it's not going to work the way you would think it would work, right? So then this person is asking, what relationship should I use? So they're referring to Tableau using relationships and join. The problem with that is without having proper data modeling, Tableau is going to make the assumption about which data to keep, and you're not going to be able to have a general date table where you could have all the dates from a given time range, even if you don't have an event for it. So for example, I may have terminations 10 times in a month, but one of my metrics might be what was our percentage of how many terminations do we have each day of the month. If my fact table only has dates for those 10 times, then I'm missing the other 20 days or so, like working days. The other 10 working days, I'm missing those dates. So then the data to the person looking at it is going to be weird because they're only going to see 10 days of the month when they should really be seeing 20 working days. So that's what we're trying to eliminate and what we're trying to fix. So let's go ahead and go over it. So I'm going to go open up Redshift so you guys can see the tables. So here we have our select star from dev.public.date dimension. So I'm just going to do a limit here. So you can see it starts in 2020 and you can see we have the date. Is it a month in and is it a quarter in? So if I scroll down, you can see here that we have is month of 131, and I'm sure if I go to 331, you'll see quarter in, right? Boom, cool. It's a very general date table. In production, you would add other things like, is this date the current date? Is it last 7 days? Just different things that you can filter on your reporting and make things really easy and flexible, as opposed to trying to be specific about the date, right? Like current date is always going to be the next day. So if you have a flag, it'll just naturally move. Right. So now we're going to look at this dev.public.hr data. So let's run it. Cool. Okay, so we have like 10 records here. And you can see for this HR data set, we have like an employee ID, which is unique. We have a first name, a last name, a department, their job title, their hire date, their salary, and then their employment type. So in this table, I didn't put a termination date, but I do have a hire date. So you'll be able to see what I'm talking about as we go through this. So that's the setup. So let's go ahead and go to Excalidraw, and I'm gonna draw out what the model should look like and explain the steps so you can kind of see how it looks visually. And then we'll head over to, I have a Metabase Docker container running. We'll head over there and I'll show you what the model looks like, and then show you what I mean by how you're able to report on report on dates that don't exist in your fact table, and that really gives you the flexibility to be able to have reporting as if all the dates are available in the fact table, right? So let's go to Excalidraw, and I'm gonna draw some squares here. So I'm gonna draw this, right? And I'm gonna add some text. Okay, so I'm gonna call this table, right? This is gonna be our fact table. So I'm gonna call it HR facts. And in this table, we have hire date. Let's just say employee ID. We have a hire date, and then we have the event. So if this was a real life table, we wouldn't have a hire date. It would just be date or like this. And the event would say hire. But I just wanted to make that point. So I'm gonna call it hire date. And imagine this is our fact table. All right, so now we're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna create our date dimension, all right? Which is that date dimension table I just showed you. Okay, so we're gonna add some text, and we're gonna call it date table. And as we stated earlier, we have our date, we have is month, then we have is quarter. And like I said, you could have a plethora of other columns, but I just wanted to keep it simple for now. I have all the dates possible that I can have in history of time in this date table. These events only have dates where something actually took place. But I want to do metrics on those events even if an event didn't happen. So I don't want to say, oh, I only hired people on 10 days of the month. I want to say on these other days we hired 0. So what we do, we draw a line from hire date to date. All right? And what would happen is we'd have a left join here. So we keep a left join from this date table. So that way we keep all of the dates, but then we also keep the hire dates. Now, to that person's question, they had 2 dates. So technically this says date table, but really what it probably should be called is like hire date. Because what we're saying is this date table represents hires. So now we're gonna do another table, and we're gonna call it, not just date table, we're gonna call it termination date. I'm going to move this over, and we're going to have date. So the same columns, because it's a copy of the same table in your database. We're just going to give it an alias in our data model. So is month, is quarter. So, you know, and ideally what we'd have here is, like I said earlier, right, we'd have date like this, an event. So what we would join this is we'd say, okay, hire date, join this date on HR facts to hire date when the event equals hire, and then we would say, okay, I want to join date onto date here when the event equals termination. And now what you have is a date that you can drag onto your canvas, and this date would say termination date. Let me move that line so you can see it better. Yeah, this date here would say termination date. I'm gonna call this table so it's a little more clear. So if I was working on a BI tool and I was to drag that termination date onto the canvas, it's only gonna join to events that were for people who got termed. Same thing here. This date is just for hire dates. So if you were to drag that table over, it's gonna bring back all the dates, but it's only gonna join to events that are hires. That's super, super powerful, and it's one of those concepts that's kind of hard to grasp when you're first learning data modeling, but you would see date tables everywhere, right? Because you could have different events, so you want to be able to like measure them. All right, so then let's go ahead and go over to Metabase, and I can show you like what this model looks like. So if you've never seen Metabase, it's like kind of like it's a really good modern BI tool. You can set it up in Docker and get it running like within minutes. If you guys would like to see more content around Metabase, please put something in the description, say, hey, I would like to see more of this, and that way I can do more videos, do like full tutorials on it. It's a great product and pretty easy to learn. Okay, so we created an HR model, which is in this model, so I'm gonna click on it, and let me go back. I clicked on the folder. I'm gonna click on HR models, and right now it's trying to load the model up, so it's communicating to Redshift. So I'm gonna click on editor, and I'm gonna click on, it's not the button I want. Edit query definition. So here we have this we're selecting from date dimension and doing a left join on HR data, and we're doing ddate.hdate. So that gives us what we want. Again, like I said, if we had multiple dates, what you would see is we would have multiple, effectively we'd be joining to this date dimension we would be joining to this HR table again, but we would be joining on the termination where the event equals termination and bringing back that date. So here we have D dot everything, but if we had multiple dates, we would say date, and then we would say, okay, I want to call this one as hire date, right? And if we join to another date table, the other one would say, okay, D1.date as termination date. So that's pretty cool, right? So just want to show that really quickly to you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit cancel because it's already loaded. So then what I'm gonna go to now is I'm gonna go back. So the model's already set up. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna go to collections, which is a collection of objects. And I'm gonna click on HR new hire report. Okay, and as you can see here, right, what this report is doing, if it's, yeah, it's filtered. Let's see the filters. Yeah, so it's filtered to just January 1st through the 31st, right? And you can see, because I started from the left with all the dates for the hire date, I'm getting 31 days in the month, even though I only have 4 hires in the week. And we know this because if I come back to Redshift and I say order by hire date and put it, and let's do it in ascending order. Yep, these first 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the only people in January, and they were hired, and that maps back perfectly to what I'm saying here, right? And you can see here, I create a calculation to say, okay, how many people were hired on this date? And in this case, each time it was 1, 1, and 1. If there'd have been more, then we would have had more than, we'd had 2 or 3 or 4 people. So that is a really powerful tool because now, again, we could do something where we could say, okay, how many hires did we have in the month? We could say something like how many days in the month did we hire people? So we're not just we're not kind of put into this box, or we can only report on when the events happen, but also what percentage of events happen in a given month. I think that really answers that question really, really well. If you guys have any other questions or any concerns, please drop a comment and if you like me to go over some more Metabase stuff, please let me know, or any more data warehousing stuff as well. And yeah, so yeah, talk to you guys later.